regarding boredom. I will try to keep my speech short. It is not just because there is the music concert immediately afterwards, which is, of course, would be more interesting than the speech, but also this topic, that I should not make my speech boringly long. Boringly short is better than boringly long. So it is, I am told by many that why don't you make your speeches shorter? So today I will try to do that. Of course, there was this story of a minister who said that, who also like me was being urged by many people that make your speeches smaller, shorter, don't speak that long. So one day when at the podium he announced that today I am determined to make my speech short no matter how long it's going to take. So I hope it is not going to be like that today. It will be actually short. So this condition of boredom, as you know, we all have this problem. It's a universal problem. Everybody gets bored. It is so pervasive. This problem of boredom is so pervasive that the sages found this analogy to explain the creation. Because this question always comes, why did God create this universe and put us in such problem? Was it not better that He had not created no universe, no problem? God alone, I would have been always with that one. Why did God create? And so to explain it to us, the sages in Upanishads also found this analogy. God was sitting alone and was getting bored. And so because of that boredom, God created this universe. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you read this right in the first chapter, that why God created. It is because was alone. And loneliness, nobody likes. And yet, many times we want to be left alone. And yet we don't like loneliness. That is a contradiction, a conflict that really defines our whole existence. A struggle, a contradiction. So this boredom is universal, and we understand it. And the analogies have to be given about of only those things that we can relate to. So this boredom is, God created this universe because He was bored, and thus He was getting bored being alone. So thus this universe. And there is, of course, many psychologists and neurologists have done study on this. Not much remedy has been found though. This study is done to show why there is this boredom that we face, because of the conflict. It is essentially a conflict between urge for intense mental activity. Intense mental activity. We want to do something, and lack of incitement to it. We want to do something, but whatever we are doing or whatever is available for us to do is not interesting. It is not bringing any excitement. This need for getting excited and lack of that excitement in the environment creates this sense of boredom. People get bored very quickly. It is, in fact, this talk is, one day we were walking, myself, a couple and their little child, And then the kid wanted, to go for a nice walk on the lake shore. So we all went there. And then after 5 minutes of walk, this kid started saying, "Oh, mom, enough, it is getting so, I am bored to death. I am bored to death. I am getting bored." I tried to remind him, "Well, you wanted to come here, so otherwise at home you were getting bored. But here also I am getting bored. I don't want to be here. Let us go back home." So then I thought of this topic actually. I am indebted to that child for suggesting this topic, that getting bored. You want to do something, but whatever possibility is there to do, it is not creating enough excitement. The neurologists, they say that, when there is a pleasure, there is a particular part of the brain, a point in the brain, it kind of gets that light, it gets active, and that dopamine it comes out from there. And when there is not enough excitement, then this center of brain does not get activated. And thus there is the inner desire to do something, but that center of the brain is not finding any impetus to get into that mode. So there has been a lot of study, and also there may be another problem with the frontal cortex in the brain, that you want to do something, but the interest is not coming up. What you want to get is not being provided by the situation around. So that also becomes a reason for boredom. So it is, in general, we see that this happening, that everything that we are doing, that leads to boredom, because nothing provides a constant entertainment or constant excitement. We cannot be kept amused with the same thing for too long. And boredom, we take it casually. Oh, well, everybody gets bored. What's there to think about? And why Swami chose this boring topic for today's lecture, and so forth. But it is not something that is to be treated in this trivial fashion. It is a very serious problem. Just because it is all-pervading doesn't mean that it is not a serious issue. It is a serious problem. And it has psychological, pedagogical and social issues that come up because of this. Especially many criminal things, they come up because for no other reason, just boredom. You might have read about a year ago, one Australian young man was shot dead by 3 teenagers. For what? Because they were getting bored. Can you imagine this young man who was just jogging outside? He had come here for some studies, and then in Oklahoma, this 22-year-old young man from Australia was having his exercise, jogging. And then from the behind, these 3 teenagers came. They had nothing to do, getting bored. And so they just shot this fellow for excitement. So you can imagine, many crimes are done just for excitement. Not all, but then this is a trend that is seen, that because in an affluent society, the society like the American society, the richest country on the earth, there is affluence in a way. And so they have a disease, affluenza. That just as you know influenza, here is the disease that can be called affluenza. So in this affluenza, what happens is, whatever you think is going to give you enjoyment, you get it. And you get that thing, but enjoyment is not there. In a few minutes, the enjoyment of it is gone, and you keep on looking for something more, something different. You see it in kids, and in kids one can understand it to some extent, but it is not just the little kids. Even the grown-ups, they keep this problem with them from childhood. In other societies where there is not so much of affluence, the problem is there, but because they don't have any other thing, one toy, so the kids won't get more than. I didn't have, in fact, any particular toy as I was growing. I used to pick up one pebble and other something like that, and they were the toys. It is the idea of getting a special toy wasn't in many ways affordable at my time. So no toy. It is, but getting bored with those things as well. But at least since there were only a few things, you perforce have to be busy with those very things. Here it is, I'm getting bored with this, I want another, so then another toy has to be brought. That also in 5 minutes loses its attraction and so is thrown away, get another one. So it is continuously shifting these things. Attention span gets reduced and reduced, and thus it becomes a pedagogical problem. How to teach kids? Unless there is concentration, teaching, learning becomes almost impossible. You have to engage the student into a topic for fairly long time. And if the attention is flagging every now and then and going on something else, then teaching becomes very, very difficult. And thus, you see, when in a class, any class, especially of the subjects which are not much interesting, like mathematics or geography, and so those who are interested in it, they find something okay, they pivot their attention. But otherwise, after 5-10 minutes, what is happening in the class, the student does not get even the least idea of it, because of gets bored, and thus you see that the head is on the desk, and the matter is not being studied at all. So this is think that if had not been for this problem of boredom, how quickly we would have gotten education. How much more educated we could have been in a short time, but for this issue of boredom. We get bored and that's it, so we do not go deeper into that topic. So this is a social issue. You have to find out in society every now and then new ways to engage, new ways for entertainment. And yet, even for grown-ups, because something you provide today does not bring much entertainment later on. So this becomes a growing issue. It is a very serious thing, but not studied widely or deeply enough. Not that it is not studied at all, but it is not given as much attention as it should have been given. Probably that is also getting, because of the boredom. This topic is so boring, so therefore not much study goes on in this particular topic. And therefore, this problem, let alone the solution, even the diagnosis has become very difficult. It becomes cause of increasing addictions, rashness in action, callousness in everything, lack of patience. A person becomes grumpy, cynical, self-destructive. That kind of behavior comes because of boredom. That it is, you can see that because a fellow is getting bored, so picks up a cigarette and starts smoking. Because I'm getting bored, what is to be done now? So snacking and smoking, they ensue because there is no other drive that they can engage in. And we know the problems associated, that the problems that these things bring in life, that smoking and snacking, and many other addictions. They are actually almost every addiction that one gets into is in search of more excitement. And thus, the root cause is this boredom. And one becomes callous. The sensitivity is lost because of boredom. You feel your brain is in a state where the bigger problems or the suffering of the world, problem of somebody else, we are not feeling it because we are so occupied with our boredom that we don't have the mental initiative to feel the problem of the other people. And there is no patience in anything. It is, you take up something, some activity, and then goes on, just doesn't continue with it. In spiritual life, you can imagine how important the patience and perseverance is. Without that, there is hardly any possibility of spiritual progress. And therefore, if a person gets bored now and then it is difficult to continue with the spiritual practice. They take it up for a minute, for a day, for a few days, and then they complain nothing is happening. I get bored. It is, why don't you continue with the meditations? It's so boring. Well, so if it is boring, still one must learn to continue. One must really get into it. It is, but this idea of boring and succumbing to that idea becomes very destructive. The person, because of that, becomes grumpy. A person who is bored, naturally you don't expect much smile on from that person. So it is cynical, always finding fault with the whole system, angry, always angry, has to find out something to be angry about. So it is, that kind of behavior comes because of it. And then the question comes, if I become bored with something, why do I seek that? Why do I seek a particular toy or a particular, say, a piece of music or a nice novel or a book to read? If I am going to get bored with it, it is difficult to say. It is whatever I choose, for a little while it seems to be attractive, but then it loses its charm. And the reason for this, that the Vedanta scriptures tell, that nothing outside has the capability to satisfy us. So everything one tries out becomes boring after a while, because intrinsically there is no capacity to bring joy to us in anything outside. Sounds like a very broad statement, but it is true, friends. Nothing in the world has the capacity to bring any lasting satisfaction, any lasting joy in our life. And therefore you try for some time and then get bored. Oh, what can I do? It is there is nothing. And after trying a few things, this itself becomes a habit. That is how habits get formed, You do something once, okay, do the same thing twice, thrice, 4 times, then that gets into your nature. And unintentionally you will be doing it. So, without being conscious of it, it will get done by you. So, this habit of getting bored kind of builds in us. And so, always this person is bored. It is this idea has to be brought in, that we are looking for joy in a wrong place. Looking for joy in the right place would yield the right result. But if you are looking for something in a wrong place, I was in the morning in Connecticut, and so if somebody now tries to look me there for me there, the result will be frustration. I am not there. The person I can be looked for hours, but I will not be found there, because the search is going on in a wrong place. So when we think that I will get some joy from this cookie, or from this music, or from this person, or from reading this book, we should remember that none of that, nothing in the external world has joy in it. There is no joy kept in that, and so we cannot get it. That story of Sufi saint Rabia is told that, she and another person with her, they used to be engaged in doing a lot of spiritual practice and prayers. And one day her companion said that, he is feeling a bit bored, and so he will go to some party, and then he will feel happy. So he went there. When he came back, he saw that Rabia was searching for something, some piece of ornament or jewelry she was searching in the courtyard. And he said, okay, I will also help you in searching. So both of them together with a light were searching for a long time. And nothing was coming up, so this friend of Rabia became suspicious and asked her, are you sure that you dropped it here? And she says with a grave face, no, I have kept it inside the box in house. And then, fool, why are you searching here? And Rabia retorts, had you kept happiness in that party that you went to get from there? It is not to be found from anywhere, and therefore looking in the wrong place has this inevitable consequence of boredom. That is why all of us get bored. After a while, we need therefore a new titillation, a new source of excitement, more and more intense a drug or something to make us feel that sense of excitement. So otherwise we get bored. So, and thus what happens is, well, you feel now there is nothing to do, nothing is bringing excitement. So you think that nothing is there to do, nothing is exciting. And then not doing anything, is it exciting? Not doing anything is also not exciting. So see the torture. This is a big torture. Getting bored is such a big torture. Just think, suppose you have gone to airport to receive somebody. I have experienced it a few times that, and you are waiting for that person to come out, and whatever 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you are waiting there looking. Every person that is coming out, you think, look, oh no. After a while you get kind of bored because what you are looking for is not happening, and it is a torture. It is because not doing anything, it is a big problem that how to keep the mind of those people engaged who have this kind of a job. Imagine the job of a, say, night watchman at a gate. Has nothing to do. You just keep watch. Be there. Cannot go away from there. Cannot plague with others. Is alone there. And so how much bored this person would be. It is a big problem in different schools, how to keep the kids engaged. Because there has to be something to do. It is not easy to keep quiet and not doing anything. If we see some person sitting relaxed, we feel jealous. This fellow is not doing anything. See how much work we people have to do. There is the story of a king that he was feeding a man who just used to meditate, doing nothing. These other courtiers thought that he is just spending time, and our king, he is feeding these lazy people. Let these people work and earn. And they came to the king and said, "Oh king, this is not the right thing that you are doing. See, we put in hard work and so you give us money and so forth. This fellow does nothing, sits there, and you give him food and all that. Why?" King said, "Well, do you have a problem? You also sit like that. I will give you also food. Just sit like that. Don't do anything. Try." Not easy. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's enough. That stretches the patience of most of us, and they start getting up. It is in our meditation sessions, it is seen very often. Sit for long meditation. It is after a while somebody gets cough. Not that that person is suffering from cough actually, but that cough is an activity that one has to get engaged into. Somebody feels that, I need a drink. My throat is getting... The idea is just to get up, can't sit quiet for a long time. Oh, I need to go to restroom. All these are really pretexts for not being psychologically able to sit. The physiological means the expression in the body is actually the boredom that is being felt inside. And so you can see that not doing anything and nothing to do, it is a big torture. In the different prisons, it is a big problem, a difficult job for the prison managers, that these people have to be provided with some activity, something to do, something meaningful to do. Something, if that is not carrying any meaning, it is still more boring. If it is most of the works that we do actually have not, if we understand them, that what we are doing, we will get bored quickly. We will not actually go to do. A man was wanting work. Now there wasn't any work, so one man said, okay, I'll give you work. We need to dig a 3 feet deep pit here, and you will be paid by hour. So, okay, so dig the pit. And then that pit was dug, say, in 3-4 hours, the job was over. And he said, what next? I want any work, for any more work. He was told, okay, now fill the pit back. Fill it back. Because no pit was really necessary. But this man is to be kept engaged, so okay. And most of the works that we do are of that nature. That dig the pit and then fill it. Create a problem and then solve it, you see. So it is, because otherwise we get bored. But we should not be allowed to know this. The trick is, the moment we understand that it is just to make us do something that is being told, then that becomes very boring. It has to be felt meaningful. Not just even money, but you have to see how it is going to be helpful for society, that how this digging this pit is going to help the world and so forth. Then you get that incentive to do it. So, therefore, this torture, how can we overcome this? That is the problem that we have to overcome. And first thing is determination that it is a disease that has to be cured. So we have to have that determination, like that Long March song, we shall overcome. That determination has to be there. We have to overcome. This problem has to be overcome. Without determination, this will not work. We have to determine that this is a disease. And so I will have to cure it before it becomes almost impossible to cure it. So earlier the better. We start finding a remedy for this disease. So strong resolve is a must. One needs now, like anything, what is to be done? Education and training. These two things are required, education and training. Sometimes both these words, they are thought as meaning the same thing. Well, yes and no. Education focuses more on understanding. Training focuses more on actually doing it, practicing it. So, both these things are to be done to overcome this. What is to be done? First thing, educate oneself that there is absolutely no happiness outside. This is to be learned, friends. That what happens is we forget this. Not that we do not get this lesson, but we forget it very quickly and think that no, I didn't get much happiness from this, but I will get happiness from that. Or I will try again this thing that I had tried earlier, but maybe this time I will try it more forcefully, more powerfully, and thus I will get happiness from it. The things in the world, we are habituated to get tempted by them, and thus it is this education gets lot of resistance. That I was so happy that day. I had a nice ice cream, and it was such a nice thing. How long did you get the joy of that eating ice cream? How long did it last? Very little. It is so. Let us remind ourselves of that. It is, some people say that, well, you are teaching kind of pessimistic attitude. It is not pessimistic. It is taking us to the truth. We should not be scared of truth. That there is absolutely no happiness outside. And the moment we seek happiness from outside, we get trapped. We get into those contradictions of wanting and not having, and thus get bored. Look for a new avenue of again getting bored, that's all. So therefore, it is important to remind ourselves this truth, that and the scriptures have taught it in various ways, that remember that how you went to get happiness from something and what happened. Happiness is really within, not outside. And it is therefore no wonder that every search for happiness like that is surely going to end in bringing more boredom. So, important thing is to educate ourselves again and again. This truth needs to be bombarded upon us. Maybe some people may call us pessimistic. It is really not pessimism at all. But whatever somebody may say, it is important that if we want to get rid of boredom, then we have to take up this challenge, friends. Otherwise, well, the consequence is get bored, get more bored. That is, it is, therefore, see that there is no enjoyment in anything outside. You cannot get it. It is looking in the wrong place. Not only that, you are going actually in the opposite direction. And therefore, now comes the training. You understand this and train yourself, therefore, to restrain from going out. Going out means our senses, as so to say, they are going out to grab things. So, tell them, restrain them, that they should not go for this. It is a training. Gradually one will get success in that. It is, training doesn't come, just, it is not just one day that you do and you get it, no. You have to be at it for a long time. Even something as simple as, riding a bicycle takes training. It took me a few months actually to properly ride a bicycle. And initially I thought, because I fell a few times, I thought that, well, I will never be able to ride a bicycle. Probably I was not made for it. I got so bored trying to learn because nothing was coming up. But slowly, you start getting in that. So similarly, this process of pulling the outgoing tendency, pull it back. It is very important to keep up this practice. And then gradually what will happen? Dependence on the environment to provide excitement will go away. Now we always are looking for an exciting environment. Do we acknowledge this, that what it means is that we are becoming slave to the environment? We are just becoming slave, begging for pleasure, begging for excitement all the while. That, oh money, give me some excitement. Oh movie, give me some excitement. Oh man, give me some excitement. Oh woman, give me some excitement. Keep on begging all the time. But if we are not to depend for joy on something outside, then how nice it will be. The means of happiness actually are with us. Our self is bliss itself. And so it is important to turn direction there. It is a matter of intense practice. And therefore, we will see that education in the other direction, like educate oneself that there is inexhaustible, infinite source of true, permanent happiness inside. Inside, please understand, inside means in our awareness, in our consciousness, in what we can call as our true self. Or if we want to approach in a devotional, theistic manner, let us call that God. That God is the repository of all happiness. And therefore, that approach, what will happen there? That then we will start actually feeling more and more happiness. And this is again training. First understand, educate and train. That train oneself to go inside. Prayers, meditations, understand how to do it and do it actually. It is both these things have to be coupled together, and as one goes inside, we will see that we have to be, that it will come, the enlightenment, joy will come, but initially the process could be very boring. It is, therefore people give it up very easily. That, okay, I tried that, didn't work. Then I went to some other group of, religious group. I tried there, that also didn't work. Then I went to the third one. I tried this New Age philosophy, I tried this Catholic Church, I tried Vedanta, I tried so many, everything. What happens thereby? Without patiently being at it, nothing can be achieved. Sri Ramakrishna used to give example that a man decided to dig a well, and in his courtyard he started digging. After digging, say, few feet, he thought, maybe I'll try there, this doesn't look very promising, and started digging another place. Again 3-4 feet there, and then thought, no, let me try there. So like that he made 10 holes there in the ground, spoiled the ground. Had he been, at one place going down 30-40 feet, he would have gotten water. But now it is not. So our life also becomes like that. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, little bit of that, and nothing comes out of it. So it needs a sticking with determination that gradually more and more joy will come as the training will slacken the grip of external world. It actually happens, friends. The grip of the world on us gets loosened. And then, after a while, boredom will reduce in frequency and intensity. In due course, it will vanish completely. It will vanish completely. Why it will vanish? It is not just I'm telling something placebo, no. It is actually it will vanish. Why so? There is a sound reasoning behind it. Why should it vanish? The attention will be gradually more and more focused on this self, the source of everything. When you go to one thing for joy, you always feel, well, I may get joy from this, but I will miss the joy at that thing. No, this is this friend of mine good, but then I will be missing the company of that friend. I think this restaurant food is good, but then I may be missing the other one. So, here in God, God or self, everything is together there. Nothing is going to be missed. You get everything, and therefore no question of boredom. There is always something meaningful and pleasurable to do. Always. If you are on this path, then you see that always you have the prayer to do, meditation to do. There is not that there is a time when you will say, no, I cannot do anything. It does not depend on an external environment either. Always you can do it in whatever environment. The problem is that we do not take it up, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "O Lord," it's a beautiful prayer, "O Lord, you are so compassionate. You have put all your power in your name. And your name can be recited at any time. There is no rule about that I can recite your name any time. But this is my misfortune that I am not feeling that kind of loving engagement with it. So we have to build that loving engagement with the divine name or mantra or whatever prayer we do, whatever spiritual discipline we follow. When we do that, then there is always something meaningful to do. You will never get a boring moment in life. You can see this, you try and see. It is, I have experienced this, and I have experienced it in so many other friends' lives too, that there is not a boring moment anymore. So this actually happens. And when that goal is reached, the person becomes bliss. No possibility of boredom there, because it is always new. One thing, because why we get bored is that the thing becomes insipid, old. I want something new. But our self, as Kathopanishad describes it beautifully, it is always new. It is the most ancient and yet ever new. Not exactly Kathopanishad, but Shankaracharya's commentary on Kathopanishad mentions this point, that it is always new and therefore always brings so much joy when we get associated with that. So this is the way. I am using this article "the" consciously. This is the way to get rid of boredom. There is no other way by which we will be able to get overcome this boredom by this loving engagement with our divine self. We will see both these keywords like understanding and training. Education and training has to go kind of hand in hand to bring this capability to overcome boredom. So thank you, friends.